Good morning and welcome to today's Pretty Gets Pretty stream. So I'm Natalie and I'm one of the DT members, and today we're going to be doing a 6-item challenge. So just while I'm waiting for a few people to join, I'll just hold off before getting too far into what we're doing today. If you're watching on the Crafting with Pretty Gets Gritty group, then do comment on there and I should be able to see your comments. If you're watching on Plannercraft or on YouTube, then I will also be able to see those. I'll flick between the two. And good morning Tracy, and good morning Carol, and good morning Jane. Okay, so the challenge is to have 3 items from Pretty Gets Gritty and 3 items from another manufacturer. Now, if you are going to play along, the rules are that if you are choosing different colours of the same product, that counts as 1. If it's a stamp set, that counts as 1. If it's a set of dies, that counts as 1. But if it's an individual stencil, then that also counts as 1, and so on and so forth. So do play along if you can do. I'm going to be doing some gel printing with the challenge today, and I've pulled out the butterfly stamps, a word stencil, and one of the drawing guides, mainly because I want the circles. Okay, so that's the Pretty Gets Gritty. Then I have 3 distress paints. So I have Kitsch Flamingo, Salvaged Patina and Saltwater Taffy. I have a white acrylic paint, doesn't matter what quality at all, because that's just what we're going to use to actually pull our print. And I have the Just Useful stamp set from Brook as well. So bit of a good mixture. So we've got some clear stamps, some rubber stamps, some stencils. The only thing that we really haven't covered is dies, but you wouldn't see that with what we're going to do. So good morning Thea, and hopefully I've not missed anyone. Oh, looks like I've missed Mum. So hi Mum. Let me just flick over to the multi-stream so I can see that too. Okay, so let's get started. So I have my gel plate ready to go, and I have the paper that I'm going to be printing onto, and this is fairly good quality printer paper. I have some printed paper, so these are just using different types of text, and you're going to find that because these are laser printed, they're going to react to what we do on the gel plate. And good morning Sam. And I also have my journal and some cards sitting to one side so that we can alternate between the materials that we're using and also do a few little bits of cleanup. So to talk about the gel plate, when you're working with it, it's nice and easy to use, as you'll see. And when you get to the end, in case I forget to do clean up at the end, no, what I'm like, you can just peel off any bits of the paint just using some nice clear sellotape. Just trying to make sure I don't miss anyone. But yes, it's nice and sunny here, so that's good. And let's get started. So let's pick a colour to get started with, and let's go straight to the patina. So I'm just going to do a few little dots, just because that's how I can get past their shape. I did shape these all this morning, but it's like, I'll do it again. Okay. And you'll notice I'm not putting lots and lots of paint on. So this first layer, I just basically want to have my colour, and then we can start to pull out a few bits of detail. So, there we go. And good morning Laura. And we're going to go in with a brayer. So any rubber brayer will do. And then crack on. So again, I don't mind if it's kind of mixed together a little bit. Okay, so if you're starting to look at this and you're thinking it's looking a little bit pale, first of all start to use your ears. Or you get like a kind of sticky sound, and if you're not getting that sticky sound, that means you're going to struggle to put. So let's put a little bit more. Ooh, not that much. That's probably going to do a whole plate, to be honest. There we go. So given that went a bit mad, let's go and just do an all over coal to start with. So the whole point of gel printing is that we're going to build up there upon there upon there. So let's start by pulling out some text. So all I've done is in Affinity set up a text box that literally goes from there to there and filled that with filler text. So lorem ipsum, if you're familiar with it, but any old text will do. If you want to change it to something that is relevant to your layout, you can do that if you like. Now you have a choice. You can either use the full printout like so, straight on, or we can actually tear into it. So I've actually printed out a couple of these so that we can play with both. So just while that's on there, let's just give my brayer a quick clean. So what I'm doing to clean it is just literally roll it off onto another piece of paper. Okay. So there's our first pull, and hopefully if I put a little bit of white paper underneath, which I should have done to start with, so you can see this a bit better. There we go. You can see we've got the ghost of our text. Now it's not the strongest colour for this first pull, but we'll see how we go. That's it, isn't it? With the sun, we're either complaining it's too bright or it's in the wrong place. So what we want to do is have this first layer fairly dry, in the hope that when we then brayer on a little bit of white paint, it shouldn't disturb that text too much. So we'll see how it goes, how much of a background we put on. So this is going to be quite pale to start with, but as we start to build up our layers, we can gradually get darker and darker. And again, just clean your brayer off before going on to the next bit. Brayers should always be stored on their back rather than on the roller themselves, just to prevent you getting a flat spot on your brayer. Yep, it is a good idea to keep an eye out for art supplies in Lidl and Aldi, because they're both pretty good actually. I have also got some cheap acrylics from Home Bargains before now, literally just for doing gel printing, because they don't need to be that good a quality. So let's see how we go. We've got a little bit of a ghost of our text, but it's quite faint, so let's see if I can get that to show. So we've got little bits in here, but it's really subtle. So let's go and see if we can make that a little bit stronger. What I'm going to do is set this to one side, and we can use that to layer on our next print. So whenever you aren't happy with something, just consider it as not finished. So don't think, oh, I've got to chuck that way and I can't use it. No, it's just a case of it needs more layers. And eventually you get to a point where you won't want to use it, and that's when you stop. Because then you know you've done your job. Okay, so let's go a bit stronger. Now, if you're working with lots of light colours, what you can do is actually swap your white acrylic to a black acrylic. Yeah, I don't play with this often enough, I really don't. But I seem to be quite in a nostalgic mood at the moment. So I thought I would have a play and see if I could recreate some of the work that I've seen with some of my design heroes, and gel plate is pretty ideal for some of them, so that we can do things like having the text. Better. Okay. So the darker your paint when you're choosing your colours, and the fewer layers typically you will need. I don't mind spending a little longer getting this one right, and we're starting to get there. If you feel like you've not quite got the paint mix that you're looking for, and like I've pretty much covered this plate, I want to put a little extra in, and we can just keep praying it so that we're starting to spread that paint a bit thinner, and then add a bit more paint in. There we go. The other thing is, we're not necessarily looking for perfectly mixed paint, so if you've got something like this where you've got a few little splodges, that's fine. And again, just going to turn my paper around so I get this edge and brayer that off. And even this piece that we're now pulling away, we can still use that in our work as well. So if you want to doodle over the top, you can do. And again, we have our text on there. So let that have a quick dry. And then when we go with our white. Now, because my gel plate is slightly larger than my A4, you're going to find that you get like a track that comes along up here. Don't be afraid to pull that every so often as well. So let's go back to this piece and see if we can pull that text. And again, just give me a brayer acrylic wipe. Now we can start to see it a bit more. Let's just put that down again. It's going to be soft as soft can be today. So there we go. We can see that we've got our text coming through in all our different fonts. And let's pop that to one side. So for the next one, let's go a little bit stronger, just so that we have a good variety of papers to work with. So rather than fill it with the white this time, we're going to concentrate on just creating our actual stronger colour. So, for those of you that have just joined, it's a 6-item challenge, and the paints that I'm using are Distress Paint in Saltwater Taffy, Kitsch Flamingo and Salvaged Patina, and then I'll go through the other bits as I add them. So I want a little extra colour, and tend to find that I get like a bit of a pale strip down the middle, so I'm just trying to fill that in a little bit. There we go. And occasional splodge of green just in those bits that you just think it's looking a little bit pale. There we go. So onto paper. Now let's grab my stencil. So word stencils, you want to work from the back, so you want your word to be back to front, so that when you do print, they're going to be right way round. So let's grab that. Now I can't promise that you won't get monkey fingers. Let's pull this on. Okay, so if you're seeing that some of your words don't quite make a lot of sense, what you need to do is just rub your finger nice and firmly across where the stencil is, and you'll be pressing your paper then more into that edge of the stencil. And there we go. So you can see with the colours I've chosen, keep it nice and light. And then we can peel off our stencil. Now our clean off sheet that we've been using with our brayer, we can pop that down and print onto it. And again, if you don't get all the paint that you want to get, just give it a more firm rub. And there we go. So we're getting nice and light and soft kind of prints. So it's not about having nice legible wording, it's about having the texture from the words. So you can see we've got these lovely bits of texture from our paint. Okay, so that's probably enough paper. Let's start to do a few bits of card. So I'm going to have that just sat there. And this time I'm going to start working with my stance bit. So let's get the green on there. Now, if you have any kind of bits left over from your previous prints, don't think, oh, I've got to clean that off before I can do my next print. Just literally go straight over the top. All these layers add to the next print. Okay. I can pop in a little bit of the taffy. And I'm going to give my brayer a clean up. Now decide which stamp you want to work with, and I'm going to go for a number stamp. Now rubber does tend to be a little bit more forgiving when it comes to paint. It's a little bit easier to clean off. That's not to say that you can't use your clear stamps. Okay, so bear in mind anything that you do with a rubber stamp is going to be backwards. So although I'm using numbers, I know that my numbers are going to be backwards. But when we do our clean off, they can be round the right way. So we're going to start to get little hints of those numbers. Is it going to be a perfect impression? No. Do we want it to be? No. But all of these papers we can start to actually build up ready for our final layout. Am I going to show that on stream today? Probably not, because of time. So let's grab my piece of card and we can pop that over the top, and let's see what we pull. It may be too dry to pull, but we'll see. Oh, it's looking good. So you can see that we've got little elements where we've got our numbers, but they're back to front. So let's carry on. I'm going to keep building up that same sheet, but this time we're just going to concentrate on that taffy so that it's sitting over that block of paint. So I'm just going to do a little strip down the middle of my plate, because you don't have to use your whole plate if you don't want to. Okay. And let's say I'm just going to clean off down there, because that's going to be the bit I'm going to use next. And I'm going to flip it around, place it down. Now because we're doing card for this step, you're going to want to push much harder. Your life keeps freezing and jumping. Okay. That probably means that my internet is not being the best today. So I do apologise. If you are having issues with it keep freezing, if you take your playhead of your video back a few seconds, usually that's enough to kind of keep the flow going. So you're giving yourself a little bit of a buffer. It's the same on any live. Top tip. Okay, so then we've got a strip of colour and we've got our text, but it's only for that strip because that's where we applied our paint. Again, we can peel that off. And let's go back to our little bit of a clean up from where we did this stamped image, and we can go straight over the top. And we've got that nice ghost, but we can still see our stamping that we did. That's good to know, Laura, that it's behaving for you. And Carol seems to be alright. Okay. Perhaps it's not my internet. I'll let it off this time. Okay, so with regards to what's on your stencil, if you want to take that and actually print it, you can do, or you can just leave it to the end and just give it a nice soak in the brush cleaner, and that should come straight off. And I've also set to one side, I did another sheet of text, and this is all individual words. So let's do a little bit of tearing, because I don't necessarily want to keep them in the same format. It's just nice and easy to print it in one go. So we can take just an element. Now if you have like some of the sort of like mailers or free magazines from like your supermarket or something like that, then you can use those for this same process. Can I ask where the other comments are coming from? We're also live on my page, which is Planner Craft, and also on YouTube. So if you want to watch on YouTube, I know some people can watch YouTube rather than Facebook on the tellies. So if you want to see me big screen, then you can watch on there. Okay, so with that torn and ready to go, again, I'm just going to do a strip. And I'm going to do it just slightly wider than my paper. Okay. And clean my brayer off. I'm going to pop my text down like so. And then we can decide where we want our paint to transfer. So I'm going to pop that card just there, and yep, we're going to get a line where this text, where the page finishes and this paint's not being transferred off. So that's something that we can play with too. Okay, give everything a good firm press down and we can lift off. So we're going to end up having this kind of almost mountain-like. And we can take off our text. Okay. Now, because this paint here is still going to be a little bit wet, you may find it pulls a little, but we'll see how we go. So, this is where remembering which way around your text was is actually quite useful. Or you can actually get some mounts for your gel plates, which can also be good for if you want to do things like stamping your gel plate. So literally stamping it as is. It's also good for reversing your stamps, so if you want to do like a mirror image of a stamp. Yep, we are truly international. So Tracy, who's commenting from our Facebook page, is in Australia. So we can see that we've got a little bit of a word there. If we want to make that bit stronger, I'm going to be naughty now, because I need something a little bit darker to make it pop a bit more. You can tell me off later. Let's just give this a bit more of a shake. So I could have gone with black, but let's go dark blue. Just to add a bit of depth. There we go. Okay. Take two. Just so you can see it on camera. Pop that on there. Just quickly clean my brayer off because we don't want that blue to stick there and transfer to the other bits when we come to do those. I'm trying to be good. Hello to the Netherlands. you can see we've got more of a contrast going on. So I really want you to see that this text does actually transfer, believe it or not. And there we go. So now you should be able to see that a bit clearer on screen. So you can use photos in the same way that you use text. And so while I'm doing lots of text-based things this week, this could just as easily be a black and white photograph. The higher contrast, the better. So literally black and white is fantastic, rather than black and shades of grey. Okay. So you're going to see, because some of that blue is still wet, it's going to start mixing with the white bit, and that's fine. So one of my favourite exercises with the gel plate is to actually do different colour combinations. So I'll literally start with a set of 3, then change one at a time, and then pop those into some nice layouts and pop them into a 6x8 album where you can do things like pockets with colour swatches, and it's a really good reference to go back to. You don't have to use paint on your gel plate. How do we do? And there we go. So you can start to see that a little bit better then. These come out really soft, so it's a good idea to just go a little bit darker just so you can see. Okay. So I'm just going to use what's left on my brow for a second. Just clean most of that off. Now, the other thing I tend to do quite a bit is actually double side my prints. So, for instance, if there are bits I don't like on one side, I'll try and print them on the opposite side so that I can kind of flip between the two. So there's most of what they've gone. Let's just see if I can get that last bit off up there. So if you have a stubborn bit like this, you probably find that you can just lift it off with a bit white. But it'll do to kind of muddy up to get a bit of contrast. So I'm going to go back to this sheet. So we've got a few bits of detail here, here and here. Kind of need something in this space here. Now, that one's about the right size, so I can use that as a guide. So one of the good things is our gel plates are clear, so we can kind of give ourselves a size reference to go to. I'm going to pop a little bit white. Let's see if we can do a kind of gradient. So what I'm doing by doing this now is trying to flick around that roller so that we're getting the paint rotating around. Okay, it's looking a little bit too pale still, so a little bit more. Just because they've been sitting there a bit long, let's give it another shake. So there's more than enough white there already. It's there mainly just to act as a bit of a blend for the middle. Okay. Better, a bit stronger. Okay. So let's take our stamps. So this time I'm going to go to the clear ones. Let's pop that into a stamp. I'm going to go for a nice big stamp. Press it in. You will probably get monkey fingers, but that's fine. I'm going to stamp that down there. So we have a nice gradient, and we could chop that out and maybe put that in that place, but I'm also going to try and see if I can lift it off. Now, I'm going to move this over slightly because I know I want to try and keep some of this detail here. So by working so that I can have the open edge there, we can kind of line it up. Down we go. Over the top. And we can give it a press. And let's see how we go. There we go. Perfect. So although your stamp writing will be backwards, we've still got a lovely impression of our butterfly. And you can still kind of take elements from our stamp that is the right way around and actually put that back over the top. So you can also do this onto acetate if you wanted to. You could do it on translucent paper. Just going to go back in with a bit more colour so that we can do a bit more work to a nice pale one here. I'm just thinking it needs a little bit more of that text. And the longer you work with your gel plate, the better, because it likes to be messy. Now, if you would like these sheets to play with, let me know and I'll pop them up as a download so you can have a go. Okay, so what I'm going to do, because I've got this kind of torn edge now peel these away, and if we're lucky, without hand applying more paint, we should get the text. So we'll see how we go. It's a little bit too pale, I think. That's a shame. Because it's not that it hasn't pulled, because I can see it's pulled off the actual gel plate. It's just a bit too pale to see it. But that's fine, we can work with that. So, let's go for another layer. Because the one thing I haven't used yet is the drawing template. So obviously we could use those in the traditional manner and actually doodle into our prints once they're dry. But I wanted to kind of show how we can use them on our plates themselves. So let's grab a template. I'm just going to literally pop it on as is. And I'm going to work onto that blue cleanup that we did. Okay. So we're going to see that we've got some nice random shapes in there. You're going to use a really good firm pressure so that you can get some nice crisp edges. And then we can peel that off. So again, just going to let that get a little bit dry before we try and pull it. And let's go back through my pieces to see which one I'm going to add a bit more. Oh, we've got this one, which was the first one that we did with the really soft details. So that's kind of ideal for this. Now what you want to be aware of, if you are going to do a dry pull with using your white acrylic over the top, it's actually going to start to block out the layers underneath. So there's a couple of ways around that. You could use some gel medium so that you get a bit more of a translucency to it. You could pull it quicker so that you don't need to add that wetness to it to be able to pull it. But I think I'm just going to concentrate on this area down here in our print, which didn't get a lot of text. So hopefully by now that's dried a bit. Place the side that you want to print down. And hopefully when we pull, we'll see some ghosts of our shapes. So I'm going to keep it nice and soft. Let's start to need a bit more on that particular layout. So I'm going to go Taffy and Flamingo. Wattle it up a bit. Okay, so our text is probably going to be too subtle. So that's when we could go, okay, let's do another stamp. So it could be that you use a different stamp in your stamp set for this one. You don't have to keep using the same stamp. It's just easier in terms of clean up. I'll be honest. Okay, and we can stamp that next to that one there. Let's pull same bit and see how we go. So each time I'm doing a print, I use a good firm level of pressure. So if you don't be scared to actually press into your plate. What I would say is when you're storing it, however, treat it the other way with kit gloves and don't have anything leaning on it, otherwise you can get like a permanent ridge. And we can see again that we've got our butterfly just there. quite liking that. I'm thinking something kind of along that strip there. So what I want to do, just a strip. Let's go with the Patina as well, and I'm just literally going to do a strip. So back to the stamp we were using before, and we can pick up our paint off our strip, stamp that down, and again we don't have to be 100% accurate with our stamping. Work out roughly where you want your strip to go along your piece. So I'm thinking, let's go that way around. So I'm going to hold my fingers through this white strip here as a kind of guide, then I can move that along my gel plate. So hopefully, fingers crossed, oh, that sounds painful, Delcy, and I hope it gets better soon. Okay, so you can see we've got little hints of our text, but if it's not quite pulling enough, let's just give it another press down. Okay, so you can have little ghosts of text without actually having full-on text. But now we have this really fun border that's got a texture in, so we can use that onto something else. So again, a little bit of paint, not much, because we only want it in that strip. Where we've got this print here, we can go and pop our top edge along that, and hopefully we can pull another print from it. And when it comes to cleaning your gel plate, you're going to work in pretty much the same way. Just keep pulling prints. So that we've got our texture off the top, like so. So that's our stamping that we did with our butterfly, the stamping where we just done the strip, and then the texture from what was left over from the strip. And trying to think what else I want to do. Let's do one that is layer upon layer, shall we? We haven't really done that, and we've got 10 minutes. No pressure. So, what does everybody think to the new distress colour? Have you got it yet, or have you ordered it and you're waiting for it to arrive, or you're not sure yet? Let's go and put colour all over the top. And if this first layer looks a bit pale, don't worry about it. Stencil around that way, and let's use the back of this print. So you notice if I'm doing this, and I quite like bits I already have on this side, rather than going over the top with the brown, I'll just literally go with my hands, because otherwise you risk having paint transfer in the places that you don't want it to. Okay, so we have some gold. And again, I'm going to let that sit for a moment. Get the next piece ready. So now I'm going to go over with more colour. Yeah. Okay. Now you're waiting for that kind of pull of it starting to stick. So maybe a little bit too much, but let's see how we go. So let's go for the same bit of stencil again. Over the top. I'm going to press that down. So what could you do with gel plates and your prints? Well, you could just make pretty papers for your card making, your scrapbooking, your mixed media pieces, die cutting, etc. You can actually just create nice double-sided papers that you are going to fold up into an envelope. Just a bit painful. Yeah, that's usually what Lucy says to me about her shoulder, and it's like, yeah. It's only because she doesn't want me nagging her that she needs to take a painkiller. There we go. So we've done 4. So let's see if we can get a little bit more detail into that. And this time let's go pink. So I don't always try and do like a particular pattern when I'm applying my paint. It can be a bit random. Let's go for our text. Okay, so you can start to see that we're starting to get elements like our circle that are transferring between prints. So that circle's still there, but now we've also done the text on top. And now when we pull again, we can see our text is really coming through now. You always get like a ghost around the outside, which is cool. But if you haven't got like an old book, for instance, and you want the kind of book texture in it, that's a really good way of doing it. So you're not kind of having a bit of text that somebody can sit and read. Before now I've done a workshop where they just picked a bargain basement book, didn't check the content. Yeah. So had to do a bit of a clever cover up with that one. So Laura Ipsum is always safe. And get lovely mucky fingers here. Nothing wrong with mucky fingers. So typically your laser prints are going to do 2 to 3 impressions each, but sometimes you can find you get away with more. Just be aware that when you come to do this next bit, my fingers are mucky. That's okay, just don't mess them all up and pull bits out. Okay. Oh, that's ghostly. See, that's very weird. Sometimes you can see it and then other lights you can't. But it's cool. And we can see our passing by and time real slow. The only one that you can't really see that's kind of should be a bit more legible is moving on. But that's okay. So let's go back to this one, which was pretty boring, and we're going to use that to kind of do a bit of clean up on here. So if we were to try and do a white paint pull and then pulled it, we'd cover up all this text here, but because we're just working with what's still wet on the plate, you'll be able to see that text still. And I'm thinking it'd still be nice to include some of the shapes on that, because there's bits here. So let's see if we can be a bit more precise. So I'm going to kind of keep that so the paint side up. Let's move my gel plate carefully to one side for a second, very carefully. Okay. I want to work into that area there. So at the moment my stencil is wet paint side up, so hopefully it's going to pull a bit of that paint over with the brayer. Now depending on the colours that you choose, you'll either get like a grey shadow, or you might get a deeper shade depending. Okay, so we're starting to use up that paint that's on the stencil rather than necessarily having to reprint. This bit would work better if you had something a little bit softer underneath. My messy mat's quite solid, so something like a stamping mat, you'll find it a little bit easier. Okay, but we've got elements that we can start to bring out. So with the circle, we can doodle back into that after. And it would still look nice to kind of have some stamping in there too. So let's see if we have anything left on my stamp that we can use. It's not quite, so let's get a bit of paint onto our gel. Can I go with the lightest colour, because I don't want it to be full on stamped image. I just want it as a bit of texture. So let's pull that and that. Then for our next stamped image we can go a bit darker. Let's go up here. So we've got kind of a little bit of a hint, and then I'm just going to pull that corner just because. So we're going to have again that kind of ghostly imprint just there. Let's pick up that top edge. And there we go. So we're starting to build up a bit. So Taffy, Patina, and you want to create an area that's large enough for your stamp. So just have your stamp ready to go. Okay. I'm getting lovely mucky. There we go. So nice and mottledy. One of the things I do love about the distress colours is that they'll kind of keep themselves pretty separate rather than getting mud. Over we go with the stamp. And again, I go down to the bottom corner. Decide which way round you want to go. I'm going to go this way. Give it a good press. Now, because I'm using a flexible stamp mount, I don't have to use that whole stamp in one place if I don't want to. And there we go. So we've got those colours there. And let's go back into this section here. And there we go. So when we're working with this, we could tear into it. We could just keep that as our backing and then stamp our borders around our different elements if we want to. Lots of different ways that you can work with your gel prints. So do have a go. If you want to share what you do, then you can share it on the Crafting Pretty Gets Gritty group. Or you can share it on my group. It is up to you. So gel plates are really fun. As long as you don't mind getting a little bit mucky. It's not the muckiest, but you do get a little bit mucky because of picking up stencils and things. But it's a really fun technique to do. And a different way of using the stamp. So if you're feeling that your mojo is kind of going a little bit and it needs a little bit of help, then it's a really good way of kind of just breaking the rules. Because there are no rules when it comes to gel printing. Just literally go with it, and then when you're finished, let it all dry, thin coat of white paint on top, peel it off, and you should be ready for it to all go away. In terms of your stamps, if it's a rubber stamp, then you can just get some brush cleaner on it and just soak it up well. Just be careful if you've got cling mat on the back of it. And clear stamp, any sort of like toothy brush stamp cleaner, and so it can just get in those nooks and crannies, or an old tough brush will do just as fine. So hopefully you've enjoyed today, and I will try and stop, honest. So if you don't see a blog post from me over the weekend, you know I didn't stop. I'm still there gel printing. Hopefully you all have a great weekend. Do join in with the challenge. So it's basically 3 items that are Pretty Gets Gritty, 3 items that are from anywhere else. Paint colours count as 1. So if you've got 3 paint colours from the same product, that counts as 1. So it's a good way of extending your numbers a little. And thank you for joining me for today, and look forward to seeing you next week. So I will be back on Tuesday at 11. Take care and bye for now.